Hey guys, GhazzyTV here with another YouTube video. This time we're going to be updating the Penance build guide that I've been working on since League Start, which I've been League starting with and the League launch. I've been having a lot of fun with this ability, and I just wanted to update you guys on a few changes I've made and a new POB, and the fact that I will be making a written forum guide for this once I'm actually done with it. I'm currently level 89 now as an Elementalist, for those of you with a keen eye looking at the profile picture up there. We are currently at 92 progression. We're doing our first Awakener pretty soon. I have just recently respec'd this character into an Elementalist for a variety of different reasons. And I can tell you this much, the experience I've had with the Necromancer approach, apart from requiring a trigger weapon, was actually very, very nice. However, it was very tanky, which is inherently something that Archmage builds will always be, because you stack up so much defense through Mind Over Matter, and their sustainability from Mana Pool makes that very, very good, especially in combination with things like Agnostic and Dynamo. It was absolutely beautiful to play in terms of defense. However, I did experience a lot of issues with the Penance for the sake of single target. I was using a 5-link, I even tried using a 5-link with Impulsa, which was very, very nice for the sake of clearing with explosions. However, single target always felt lacking. It really wasn't that much of an issue. You just placed the things and, moved a little bit between each cast, and that worked out very fine for Elder Guardians, worked fine for Conquerors, and I don't think there would have been any issues at all with that versus Awakener, and it has the same playstyle as a Hierophant version with the Archmage. However, Penance brand seems to be very lackluster in terms of actual damage output versus bosses. I even tried removing Swift brand for bosses, where I let the 20 beam charges stack up and do damage consecutively on the boss before exploding with 20 beams, and it was actually better to let them explode with the approach that I've been showing you guys in the previous videos. However, I was a little bit annoyed with the lack of damage, so I decided to do something that was a lot squishier, but does a lot more damage. So the damage of this version was actually using Arcanist brand with Wave of Conviction. The problem with this was that Archmage does not work on Arcanist because it triggers the ability, and Archmage cannot support the triggered abilities. So because of that, I had to rework the entire approach, and then the whole idea of why I was running Necromancer kind of fell flat on the ground. So because of that, I reworked this into an Elementalist, going with some Leech nodes, Leech of Primordial for the extra golems, and also stacking Heralds. So in this case, I am using Discipline, and I'm using triple Heralds. I'm actually considering to drop Discipline entirely because of the way this builds defenses, to add another Herald into the build. I've yet to decide the exact details of that. So this is the POB that I'm going to show you. The approach of this is very similar to the way many years ago that we used to play with EK and BV. Basically, we converted everything we could on the physical approach of the damage to have about 5,000 to 6,000 EHP, and then we would freeze and shatter entire rooms as we enter them, and that would be your defensive mechanism. I am still abusing Holy Conquest because I'm still using Penance brand as my clearing ability in a 4-link, which I'll talk about in a bit, and then I am using Arcanist Wave of Conviction for single target, which is absolutely insane for the sake of boss damage. So the way we're doing this tree-wise is that instead of going out to the cast speed or spell damage, I just take the shortest, least amount of points out to pick up some crit nodes, life, get the Holy Conquest, more crit nodes, life, get the Runebinder, of course, and the Divine Wrath together with Divine Judgment, Hold Dominion, as well as Light Divinity for Discipline and Training, as well as Retribution. And on the right-hand side, it's Crit Multi up here above Shadow, the Runesmith, the more HP, and obviously Doomcaster crits, as well as more crit to Assassination, HP, and even more crit. And the decision I made was to actually go for Face Acrobatics, which was not an issue with this build to sustain the mana cost of the Penance, because it costs 20 in this 4-link that I'm running, and I am actually gaining... Was that my horse making that sound? Can we just take a few seconds to just look at these horses, how fucking big they are, and covers everything on the screen? They look cool, but they block so much vision, it's just disgusting. Oh, where was I? So basically the setup I'm running is Penance brand with Swift brand and Inspiration and Hypothermia. Now, as you can see, these are very low levels. It just made the switch, and it's been working very well for the sake of clearing. What we're doing with this is guaranteeing that the Penance brand has 50% of the physical damage converted to lightning, and then I am converting 50% into cold damage. And then basically what I'm doing is I'm shocking and I am also freezing. So that way I'm safe from porcupines, and even if the EHP is low, the build feels very safe in mapping. It's currently rather squishy in general because of lack of generic gear on the character, but it's working out very well so far. I've been doing tier 15, tier 16 maps. I've been doing some conquers with this, and it's been absolutely perfect. So this setup is perfect to clear with, and the setup I'm using for the Arcanist brand is linked with Wave of Conviction, Inspiration, Elemental Focus, Control Destruction, as well as Conk Effect, allowing me to do a lot of damage. However, I'm not doing any ailments with this, so I'm only using Arcanist brand for very tough rares or bosses. Other than that, I'm clearing entirely with the Penance brand, and that's working out very well. Since both of these spells are physical spells and lightning tagged, you can use things like increased level of spell gems, increased level of lightning skills, increased level of physical skills, which is, because of them being spells, more often than not the better way for you to scale your damage. So if you find items like this one, for example, that has +1 level of physical skills and as well as spell crit, which is very crucial for this approach to reach higher spells crit, this would be an optimal choice compared to something like this, which has increased spell damage and the spell crit but doesn't have the level of gems. So level of gems is very crucial for this. I'm currently trying to craft an assassin mark ring, which I haven't succeeded on. So right now my only way of generating power charges is through my curse on hit set up with assassin mark and power charge on crits for bosses, so that's very fine. The other setup is an Enlightened gem together with Discipline, Hero of Purity, Hero of Thunder, and a Hero of Ice. But like I said, I'm probably going to drop Discipline, and you don't need Enlighten for that at all. However, it would allow you to run one more aura, and I'm still trying to contemplate or trying to decide what I'm going to do with it. I'm most likely going to go with Herald of Ash because of a very crucial detail when it comes to conversion. Since we are using Divine Wrath, converting 25% of our physical damage to lightning, and we're using Rimsara, which converts 50% of converted physical damage to cold, and Wave of Conviction. There's a very tricky mechanic here that I'm going to explain real quick. I myself almost fucked up on it, and we're going to discuss this real quick. Wave of Conviction has a 25% conversion to fire, and as well as 25 over to lightning. And the problem with this is that there is a little bit of a restriction when it comes to conversion in Path of Exile, where the gems and support gems are taking priority over gear and skill tree. This means that whatever you do with conversion, Wave of Conviction will always take 25% over to lightning and 25 over to fire. No matter what you do, that conversion will happen. So because of that, the remaining percent, which in this case would be 50%, would then be converted based off gear and whatnot. So that 50% physical damage that is left will then be affected by 50% conversion to cold and 25% conversion to lightning. And because of that system, that means that the remaining 50% would have basically half of it. It's really hard to explain this to make this correct, but basically what would happen is that 25% would be fire, 37.5% would be lightning, because 25 is lightning here and 25 from the tree. So you basically have 37.5% of the damage would be lightning and 37.5% of the damage would be cold, which is not entirely true because it's a tiny bit higher on the lightning because this 25 takes priority over the gear and everything. So it's a pretty tricky mechanic. So basically 37.5% of the damage is lightning, 37.5 is cold, and 25 is fire, which proves a little bit of issues using things like Malachi's Artifice, which I've removed from this build, and that's why we're crafting a new ring at the moment. So, with that said, the build is doing absolutely amazing. I'm using a Flame Dash with Arcane Surge and Second Wind, and the mana cost of the Penance, as mentioned before, is 30. And with Discipline, I have pretty low mana, which is not an issue if I change Discipline, which I will most likely do. However, as you're spamming Penance Brand, you see my mana kind of burns out pretty fast, and Penance Brand is an ability that you have to cast quite often. However, with an Arcane Surge available, your mana regen actually helps out quite a lot, and you don't sit there and right-click everything. Because if you encounter an enemy or a pack that it doesn't die, you will simply cast 1 or 2 Arcanist Brands, and they will take care of it for you. So without wasting more time, we're going to show you some gameplay footage as I continue ranting about this build. Let's do... This one's going to be tough because of the recovery rate, so we'll see if we're going to survive this. since that it can be a bit tricky due to lack of our gear. But in general, I've been having a lot of fun. I'm not saying that this is better than the Hierophant or the Necromancer version. However, I do feel that the crit version is a bit more fun for me to play. It's more damage, but it is a lot squishier. Do keep in mind that in this gameplay footage that you're viewing right now, that I have low-level gems, I have really bad gear, and in general just really bad defense as well because of its League launch gear, and I use my remaining currency to basically fix the character from the Necromancer approach to actually be able to do this specifically. So with that said, this is the gameplay in trash gear, trash level of gems, and as you can see, it is working pretty well even on a high tier map, and I've been doing this in tier 16s as well. So basically, as you can see here, as soon as I encounter a harder enemy or a rare one, I will pop, like this one here, I'll pop 2 Arcanist brands, and he dies within 1 or 2 hits from that, which is less than 1 second. We're going to move on from that one, and we're going to go to the boss. I'll show you the boss fight as well. So what's really nice with this is that something that you don't really see that much right now, and it is the fact that I'm supposed to be freezing and then shattering pretty much everything, which is happening for the most part. But as my gems are leveling up and I get power charges, this will be something that I can rely on a little bit more. But currently that is a little bit wonky due to mainly gear and the level of gems not being where it should be. So we're going to keep pushing. I'll show you the boss, how I just popped the Arcanist brand. Also, I'm not using golems right now because I haven't sorted the colors. I'm out of chromatics actually. Let's see what else we got. Let's see. Right now, actually, it seems like the freezing is getting better. We've leveled the gems a bit since last time I did a map. At this tier, at least. And it's actually been pretty comfortable. As you can see, there's shatters going on at a consistent basis, allowing the build to be safe despite the lack of EHP. Here's the targets. I put some Arcanist brand on. I actually ran past the boss. That's how smart I am. Let's go back. There it is. So, I don't have my golem. I'm going to put my Overstone Curse and hit. Put down my Arcanist brand. Pray that he comes over here. He doesn't. Oh, I've taken a lot of damage over time there. This build is very squishy for that. Doesn't really matter. The Arcanist brand will literally pretty much 2 or 3 shot him. And this is again lacking crit multi. I'm lacking decent gear. Level up the gems. I mean, I'm still leveling up some of these support gems, which are absolutely terrible. But the bosses dies very fast, and this is basically how I've been handling bosses. Another difference between the 2 brands is that Arcanist brand has a slower cast, but the Arcanist brand also has a higher duration. So the attached duration with this tree reaches 4.05 seconds, whereas the Penance brand is only down to 1.18 seconds. So because of this, you can actually cast 2 brands, and you don't have to, well, you don't generally have to recast them for another 4 seconds as they've been attached to an enemy. Allowing you to do this, let's pretend this shitty horse here as the boss. You put 2 brands out and you can dodge this, and then you can cast 2 new brands and then dodge some more, and cast 2 new brands and dodge some abilities, allowing you to be vastly more mobile, allowing you to dodge enemy attacks, especially when it comes to enemy bosses like Awakener and whatnot, which we'll be encountering later today in the stream or tomorrow, depending on how far we'll get today before I go to bed, because I've been pushing pretty hard since launch. So that's basically my update for the Penance brand. I personally prefer the Elementalist version, and this version can be played as an Inquisitor. However, you can do Inquisitor with Eldritch Battery style as well, because the Inquisitor does get the free regen of Energy Shield through Pious Path by 200 ES per second on Consecrated Ground, Immunity Elemental Ailments. So Inquisitor is a very solid choice. However, I decided to do something different, which is the standardized old school BV/EK racing meta, which was very prominent many years ago, where we basically went all over the tree, on the left hand side as a Templar, all the way over to face hacker acrobatics, and I'm just replicating that approach with an Elementalist. So it's been very fun, and I'll be tweaking around with the auras before posting the POB and this video in the description below. Anyways, hit me up in the comments below what you guys think of this version, or if you played the Hierophant, or if you played the Necromancer version. Let me know what you guys feel about this. And yeah, destroy that like button like it's a melee build in PoE, and subscribe for more content. Until next time, stay safe and keep rocking.